اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما تحب وترضى بأن تصلي عليه. صدق الله العظيم وصدق رسوله النبي الكريم ونحن على ذلك لمن الشاهدين والشاكرين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Respected ulama, respected huffaz, respected qurra, my respected elders, brothers, sisters, fellow youth, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. If I can please ask everybody to settle down so we can actually formally start proceedings. First and foremost, we praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and we ask Him to send His choices, blessings on Nabi Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And we ask Him to please send His blessings on us this evening as we begin our proceedings. And we do that by singing His praises and reciting a verse from the Quran. And may I please ask everybody, there is a verse in the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِذَا قُرِئَ الْقُرْآنِ فَاسْتَمِعُوا لَهُ. When the Quran is being recited, listen to it. فَاسْتَمِعُوا لَهُ وَأَنصِتُوا, and remain silent. لَعَلَّكُمْ تُرْحَمُونَ, so that the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may descend upon us. And we call upon one of the most senior hufaz in our community today, Hafiz Yunus Parak, to please render us a qira to open our proceedings, inshallah. Jazakallah khair.
Assalamu alaikum and good evening. Please join me in opening this prestigious Minara Business Recognition Awards 2022 with the opening chapter of the Holy Quran, Surah Fatiha. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. I seek protection in Allah from Satan, the rejected one. In the name of Allah, most beneficent, most merciful. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. All praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, the merciful, the very merciful. Malik Yawmiddin, master of the day of recompense. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. You alone do we worship, and you alone do we ask for help. Ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim. Show us the straight path. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين, and not the path of those who gain thy wrath and thy punishment. Ameen. صدق الله العظيم. Allah Almighty has spoken the truth. Shukran, enjoy the rest of the evening. Assalamu alaikum.
Jazakallah khair, Hafiz Yunus Parak, for reciting the opening verses of our Holy Quran. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep you with us for many, many more years, inshallah. Welcome everybody to, we would ordinarily say, the annual business awards of the Minara Chamber of Commerce. And indeed it is an annual award ceremony. But given the break of all proceedings that COVID had across the world, it almost seems like a new start to something. And hopefully it will be a new start to many prosperous things across our country, with businesses being the catalyst and at the center of that prosperity, inshallah. To begin, after formally praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God Almighty, we call upon the chairman of the Minara Chamber of Commerce, Uncle Salih Suleiman, to please give us the official opening and welcome on behalf of the chamber.
Auzubillahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Our guest speaker tonight, Zunaid Bulbulia, the former CEO of MTN, Imran Nurbai, and Amin Hussain from Standard Bank, our major sponsors. And of course, Amin is is our MC for this evening. Our major sponsors, the directors of the Minara Chamber, our independent judges, there's Professor Shahida Qasim, who's just limping in now, Ibrahim Vauda, Atul Padalka, and his wife, Dikshita. They were the independent judges. So they are the ones you talk to about the winners and the finalists. Our awardees, Muhammad Ikhlas of Capital Group, one of our sponsors, media representatives, Muhammad Sidat from Hilal TV. Hilal TV is here tonight, broadcasting live on channel 347. Members of the Minara Chamber, representatives of NGO sector, Shabir Chauhan, CEO of Al Baraka Bank, Neville Mankiza, CEO of TAKZN, Zwakele Mgongo, Chair of Action SA KZN, viewers of Hilal TV, Salam Media, and listeners on radio channels present here today. Assalamu alaikum, San Bonani, Wanakam, Namaste, and good evening. It is indeed my privilege and pleasure to welcome you to this awards evening after a 2-year hiatus. I think someone asked us this evening, how many years is this awards program? It's probably about 13 or 14 years. I remember in 2009, we had almost 1,000 people at NMJ Hall, and we had the president of the ANC at that point in time and his whole entourage with us for that evening. That was President Jacob Zuma, who was elected a week after that. I'm not saying that it was because of us he got elected, but he got elected a week after we had that function. There has been substantial challenges in the past 2 years in our province with COVID, the looting, the flooding and load shedding, and much, much more. Hundreds of thousands of jobs have been lost and thousands of businesses are now bankrupt, unfortunately. This combined with corruption, state capture, lack of expertise in sectors, exodus of skilled labor, exodus of funds, lack of foreign direct investment, especially in our province, more than the other provinces. I think that's why Amin has gone to Johannesburg. So lack of foreign direct investments, breakdown of the infrastructure. I mean, if you look at the beachfront, you look at the pools, the Rachel Fundisi pool, I remember when it first opened for so-called non-whites, it was such a wonderful pool. People used to look at us strangely, who are these so-called Indians swimming here? And that's in a mess at the moment. The paddling pool's in a mess. Fawzia has no more there. So she's not taking responsibility for the mess. E. coli in our rivers and beaches. And of course, the safety and security issues, a waterfront that's been in the pipeline for decades, and much more, unfortunately. I've just returned from Turkey, including in Antalya and Istanbul, where millions of tourists visit annually. Transport system is second to none, beaches are clean, security is brilliant, and of course, the concept of tourism police, which was an idea mooted years ago, and of course, never been actioned, and that's so important. The irony is that KZN has so many tourist attractions, from mountains to the beaches to game farms to golf courses, but our tourists shy away. And the question is why? Friends of my daughter are arriving in January from London, and I said, please come stay with us in Durban. Not interested. They're not going to come to Durban. I don't know. It seems to be a real challenge to get over that. Years ago, we had a meeting with the Jeddah Chamber of Commerce. And when we asked them to join us in Durban, they said, sorry, we'll rather go to the Kruger Park, down the Eastern Cape and to Cape Town. Domestic tourism has been our saving grace, but that will also dry up, especially when people swimming in our beaches get sick, as in the case of last December, and of course, recently we've had a similar problem. Now that I've mentioned all the negatives, I believe that there is a tremendous opportunity to fix this province and the country, but it will depend on the governments being willing to form a joint task force, which is able to drive change and make our province a sought-after tourist and investment destination. We have participated in many forums. I mean, Minara Chamber has been on a substantial number of forums. And of course, nothing happens. It's just a talk shop. There's been no progress in correcting the imbalances and challenges that we face in this province and this country. I believe our current premier can make a difference with her background and expertise. She was meant to be here this evening, but I think they're having a coronation of the king tomorrow, so they're busy with the logistics there. So she has given her apologies. She may pop in, but unfortunately, we won't have a slot for her to speak. But she needs support from within her organization as well as government departments. And I think that's the key. The problem is politicians come and say so much and have themselves in these meetings and present such wonderful PowerPoints, and we've been to a number of them. When push comes to shove, nothing really happens and nothing progresses. All of us must be prepared to fold up our sleeves in both the private and public sector and go the extra mile and work, if one has to, 7 days a week to fix the damage. Private sector has to show profit or they will close shop. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen in the public sector. The public sector has this attitude that they don't have to be run like a business. And unfortunately, that's wrong, because managing performance, managing budgets, managing managers, achieving goals, these are all part of business. And the business of government is also a business. And as long as they don't understand that, then that's where the challenge arises. I was in Doha on Tuesday, and I spent the morning at the Legacy Pavilion and headquarters of the FIFA World Cup Qatar 2022 as a guest of our South Africans, who are playing an important role in many areas, most notably safety and security. So we've got our expertise in other countries, and they are making a big difference. It's really amazing what they are going to be doing for the World Cup 2022. If anyone in Doha doesn't deliver or makes a mistake, that's summarily dismissed. There's no room for errors, since, as was the case in South Africa, many countries want Qatar 2022 to fail. They employ the best, they headhunt across the globe, they are intolerant with respect to poor performance, and work continues 24/7. The stadiums are state-of-the-art and represent Middle Eastern culture and designs. They've considered green energy, the environmental considerations, reusable structures linked to education and healthcare. Some of the stadiums will be dismantled and donated to developing countries as soon as the World Cup is over. For example, one near the airport is made with shipping containers. And the minute the World Cup is over, that will be basically dismantled and donated to the third world. And of course, some of them are built in such a way that they reduce the volume of the stadiums the minute the World Cup is over. So it's really, they've looked at so many different angles of this, and they've thought about it very, very carefully, and they're hoping to benefit from tourism in that area. Today is a day of celebration and recognition to all our awardees who have not asked to be recognized, but the Minara Chamber has hosted these dinners over the past 13 years to identify that those that have played an important role and through trial and tribulations have excelled and been successful. These are great role models. It's important that we understand that. They are very great role models, and we need people of this caliber. We need to showcase them, and that's why we are here this evening. There are a number of categories, and 3 finalists per categories have been chosen. Of the 3 finalists, one will be the winner. But all are excellent examples for the youth of today, and I think this is important. This is what we lack. The Community Builder Awards will recognize all the nominees, considering their selfless characters, the sacrifice and achievements before, during, and after COVID, and their vision to better the conditions of fellow South Africans. The Minara Chamber has been in existence for the past 2 decades and is an integral part of the Chamber movement. It is well connected at various levels, including with government, at both the political and departmental level, with foreign trade commissions, with NGOs across the country, with ulama bodies, educational institutes, and much more. The greatest challenge facing the chambers is the question of what can you do for us? Now, this is one of the greatest challenges that we face. Question from potential members is, what can you do for us? It's a valid question, but turning that around, and the question as professionals, businesses, NGOs is, what can you do? Not for the chamber, but for our country and our people. And this is an important aspect. We're not going to fix this country unless all of us fold up our sleeves and become part of the solution rather than the problem. We can continue complaining. I mean, sit back and think you're kind of helpless. You can't change things, but we can, and we have to. So the Minara Chamber is a vehicle to use to empower, educate, promote entrepreneurship, increase employment, and far more than that. In fact, during the looting, Minara Chamber, together with the Al Baraka Bank, the South African Muslim Charitable Trust, and other NGOs, through a project called Rehob, supported businesses in the Spingo area to rebuild their businesses. The South African Muslim Charitable Trust has offered to finance microloans, and something that we're launching sooner than later. Microloans for small businesses, and I think this is what we need to do. We need to create entrepreneurship, because places like California, the greatest engine of business, of the economy there is really your small businesses, and that's what we need to do. We need to encourage, we need to grow small business. And this is where members that are here today and businesses can also contribute to this. If we can create the type of thing like the Grameen Bank and ensure that people are made, rather than to have handouts, that can work and earn their own living. During COVID, Minara created a business platform open to all, and it played an important role in advising and guiding businesses, including legal advice from people or attorneys on the forum. So it played a very important role, because there's so many different types of legislations and things like TERS. You had to, basically claim your basically from the UIF and TERS as well. So you needed guidance, and many people don't have that type of guidance unless it's part of a group. So we actually played an important role there. There are many challenges facing businesses, from red tape, lack of response from the structures and government departments, facilitating visas, business-to-business connectivity, and much more. And that's important. And we have good relationship with a number of departments to obviate that. And of course, we've had seminars regarding red tape challenges with SARS, with customs, and many more departments. As individuals, very few of us are in a position to get results. And this is where you need a big brother like Minara. We are hoping that the youth and women join us so that we ensure succession planning, as well as grow our city, province, and country. And I mean, some of you are fed up of seeing faces like mine. So we need to find and encourage youngsters and youth and the women to really join us, because it's very well to sit in your homes and sit in your comfort zones and just say what this country is a mess and what have you. But I think we need to all get together and make a difference. So if you all join hands and work together, we can make a difference. Our South African-born experts are all over the world, contributing to economies of foreign countries. I was in London in July and met many South African CAs working at all the major auditing firms in the UK. So if you go to any of the big 4 or 5 auditing companies in the UK, you'd find that there's young South African CAs in every one of them. We need to make it attractive for our people to stay and among civil servants, efficient and quick turnaround times for planning and development, and in government departments. No forums blackmailing developers, and that's one of our biggest challenges, KZN, and this seems to be a problem elsewhere in the country as well. We have to improve service delivery. We have to keep the lights on, ensure water and sanitation is of the highest standards. People pay for what they use. Ensure we pay competitive prices for purchases. Now, it seems that if you're in government, you don't have to worry about paying the lowest possible price. You can pay any price. If something is worth 10 Rand, you can buy it for 10 Rand, government will pay 50 Rand and 60 Rand. I remember the lady that was in safety and security in the MEC's office here in KZN. She said, Solly, what I do is I buy my Romany creams and what have you from the supermarket, and I don't do it through the tenders, and I don't do it through the office, because I'll pay 50 to 100 Rands for that. So that's what we have to do. We have to pay competitive prices for purchase in government sector. And of course, we always kind of, pussyfoot around the issue of BEE. Nothing wrong with that, but it can't continue costing us more than it should. And that's the biggest challenge. Put the best people for the jobs, irrespective of race. And that's the only way we can sort the country out. So we have to ensure we get rid of entrepreneurship. We have to ensure we get bang for our buck. After all, it's our money that's being used. I think that's one of the biggest challenges that we find. People don't realize in the government circles that's not their money, it's our money. When we invest the money anywhere else, we expect accountability. But when we invest our taxes in the government circles, we kind of don't expect accountability. A book by Justice Malala written in 2015, and I quote from a paragraph of his. I am angry, I am furious, because I never thought that it would happen to us. And I remember the late Dawud Mal used to tell us this, Solly, we're going to go the same way as some of the other African countries. And we says, no ways. We're too good for that. We're a rainbow nation. So he said that because I never thought that it would happen to us. The rainbow nation that defied doomsayers and suckled and nurtured a fragile democracy into life for its children. I never thought it would happen to us. This relentless decline, the flirtation with a leap over the cliff, close quote. In this deeply personal reflection, Malala's diagnosis is devastating. South Africa is on the brink of ruin, he says. However, he believes that we have the wherewithal to turn things around and has lauded our constitution, the wealth of talent that still exists, our history of activism, and the democratic trajectory that can still be used to stop the rot. He's warning that South Africans from all walks of life need to wake up and act, or else they will soon find that the country has been stolen. Of course, some of the people that are out of the country at the moment have stolen part of this country. We're told that they are in jail in Dubai, but I don't know if they'll ever come back here. But this is why we need the Minara Chamber. United, we can share our resources and expertise to contribute to save this country of ours, inshallah. I'd like to extend special thanks to our sponsors, Standard Bank, Capital Group, Amca Products, and all the table sponsors for making this evening possible and successful. We are hoping to only cater for 300 guests this evening, but unfortunately we couldn't retain the target of 300. We're sitting with over 450 people here today. So Jazakallah, thank you for the enormous and phenomenal response. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakallah khair, Uncle Solly. Uncle Solly is taking a dig at me and saying that I moved to Joburg, and he was speaking about all of the bad things that have happened in Durban over the past few years. Maybe just to lighten the mood a little bit and just show that I haven't lost the Durbanite inside of me. Not this trip, the last trip that I came, I got into an Uber and chatting to the driver, and it was an Indian driver in the Uber. And so when he heard that, no, I'm originally from Durban and everything, he's like, boss, I hope you got salt in the bag. I said, for what? He said, hey, Durban got a major butties, boss. We need to turn salt for Durban. So I think during the course of the evening, we'll chat around some of that. And Uncle Solly took some of my job away in terms of the apologies rendered by the guests. So on your tables, you'd see a program there, and on there we had two of our guests. And given the inauguration of the new king that's taking place, many of our political leaders have been called into certain sessions. So formal apology has been rendered, and I think it worked to our favor because although we wanted to serve dinner a little bit earlier, we'd stick to what's on the table now, and we'd serve dinner at the time communicated. It gives me great pleasure to move on. We're skipping 2 items on the agenda, and we'll now move to the guest speaker for the evening, which is Zunaid Bulbulia, and I'll read out his CV that's been provided to me. Zunaid has a Bachelor of Commerce degree in accounting from the University of Witwatersrand and a Bachelor of Accounting Science honors degree from the University of South Africa. He started his career as a trainee at Arthur Andersen & Co. He joined MTN in 1995 and served with the group for more than 20 years in various roles, including many management roles, CEO, and Chief Operations Executive. In 2016, he joined Huge Group as a non-executive director of their telecommunications division, Huge Telecom, and in 2017 as their CFO. In 2019, he joined the previously known Moves Group, where he is, in 2019, he joined the Moves Group, where he is responsible for their global mergers and acquisitions strategy. He's also an advisory board member for FNB Islamic Bank, as well as an adjunct professor at Wits Business School. He's also the chairman of WizBiz, a business that provides consulting services to SME and corporate customers in the strategy and business performance fields. He's also made several investments in technology, startups, and early phase businesses, ranging from satellite connectivity, e-commerce, metaverse development, and digital performance marketing. Junaid, I'm sure there's more, but my phone is a 13 mini, so it can only cover a mini CV. We welcome you on stage.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm used to walking on the stage, and you don't have a roving mic, do you? Something I can put on. In many ways, I'm more nervous. I'm just gonna move to the next slide. I'm more nervous about speaking to an audience like this than I used to be when I used to stand up at MTN board meetings. And the reason is quite simple. At MTN board meetings, I had all the knowledge, and everyone was there to listen to. Is this working? There you go. Everyone was there to listen to my story, to understand why the company had performed in a certain way, how we were going to fix the things that were not working. Jazakallah, thank you. And I was in a position of power. I'm very conscious of the fact that as I stand here this evening, that I'm talking to captains of industry, people who have built businesses from scratch, people that have walked, run, and done amazing things in business. And in preparing to in terms of what I was going to speak about, it was quite a soul-searching experience in the sense that, what was I going to say to people like yourselves? Do I come here and preach to you about how to run business? I mean, that's not going to work because you can probably teach me far more than I can teach you. And the conclusion I came to was that let me stick to where I'm comfortable. Let me talk about things that are from my own experience, what I've seen work, and inshallah, what will happen from there is you'll get some benefit. Something will resonate and will allow you to take something away from this evening that is of value. So I'm going to share some of my experiences. I'm going to speak from the heart. A lot of what I'm going to say may not sit well with you, particularly when I'm going to talk about where I think you should be putting your money. Now, that's always a very, very difficult subject to talk about, but I'm going to share my experiences in terms of what I'm currently doing. So nothing I say to you tonight is anything I'm not doing myself. But that's not a guarantee of success. So I'm putting all the qualifiers up front so that you understand the context of what I'm going to be speaking about. But in a nutshell, it's going to be sharing the experiences that I've had and I'm still currently having. Talking about experiences, it's probably the most difficult position you can have is to be a CEO of a very large company, particularly a large company that is in the public eye, that deals with something as emotional as your cell phone. Okay, so when I was CEO at MTN, I used to get a lot of interesting requests from people. The most common one, as you can imagine, was people phoning me, friends, relatives I'd never heard of, never spoken to for many, many years, complaining about something to do with MTN. You know, boy, we don't get coverage. I don't get coverage. I get coverage in my lounge, but not in my bedroom. Can you sort something out for us? It's not working. Can you make a plan? Customer complaints were my most common experience when I was at MTN, and in particular from people from our community. The minute I became CEO, the amount of complaints I used to get from Muslim people went through the roof. I've never kept any statistics, but I'm certain that the Muslim complaints were a lot higher. Second most common complaint I used to get or experience I used to have were people looking for jobs. Okay, so someone would, my email inbox used to get filled with CVs, and sometimes people were desperate. Someone wanted a job. Can you organize? Can you make a plan? The most famous, can you make a plan? You know, I've got a youngster. He wants to start. He wants to do something. Can you make a plan for the youngster? So jobs. I need a job. Can you make a plan for me? This one was quite interesting. And it took quite a bit of time, because I guess when you're an Indian in a large business, people expect you to behave like an Indian. So someone would see an ad in the newspaper, the iPhone available on this package at 699 Rand a month for so much of data and so much of voice. But you know what? Can't you make a plan for me, man? You know, just for me, 599, not 699. Make a plan for me. You know, can't you do something for us? And it was very, very difficult, but I can't. You know, you need to understand, these are not things I can do. It's not my own business, but I used to get these on a regular basis. But the best one I ever got was when an auntie called me one day and said, Bhai, my Muhammad is looking for a wife. Are there some nice girls working at MTN for my Muhammad? Please, can you make a plan for my Muhammad? And I promise you, actually, I think Muhammad did end up marrying someone at MTN, to be honest. But anyway, moving along. So in this experience thing, maybe just to give you some context, I want to maybe put your mind at ease that I'm not just a corporate animal. I mean, I know that, no, let me not share some of the insecurities. When I grew up in my dad's business. So I grew up in Fitas. I'm not sure how many people know Fitas. Some people know Fitas. I mean, knows Fitas, but he's come to Joburg, so he knows Joburg. Now, I was just thinking, I mean, you were talking about being on firm ground. I'm just worried that, people think that because I'm from Joburg, I might be from Azadville, and then I'm in big trouble, that I must go back to Joburg, But I grew up in a family business, in a business where you had to trade. It was a shoe business. We imported shoes and we sold them in a retail shop. It was in Fitas to start with, and then the Group Areas Act came in and they threw us out of Fitas, and we moved to the Oriental Plaza, which many people probably know, and that's where the business was then established. And you can see it's an old business. Family Shoe Center, that's the name of the business, 1932, so it's 90 years old. It's a very, very old business. But the reason why I'm sharing that is that the grounding of where I learned about how business should operate came from those beginnings. And the three things that my late father taught me about what makes a business tick, what makes a business successful, if you get these three things right, your business has got a chance. Look after the small stuff. It's important, no matter how insignificant, no matter how petty it might look, always look after the small stuff. Look after your people. We had people that worked in our business for generations. For generations. There was an old uncle, I remember his name was Wilson, and he used to wear a hat, and he lived in Soweto, but he came every single morning to the shop. He looked after the customers. He looked after the children that came through the business. It was a proper family business, so my father, his uncles, his cousins, and then as the children came through, so it was a proper Indian business. And then it was all about cash. Whether the cash was in the bank or it was in the shoebox or it was in the mattress, it didn't really matter. It was all about cash. And that was a very valuable lesson. You know, my father used to always say to me, it doesn't really matter what's on the income statement and what the auditors are telling us, but how much of money have we got in the bank? How much of money do we have to pay the people that we owe money, and can we pay our staff? That was the most important thing that was to be looked after in the business. So those were the very foundations I took then into where I went. So it was Anderson, as Amin very kindly, you know, enumerated my CV when we were talking, MTN in a few minutes. It's business school. Uncle Solly almost made me want to slit my wrist when he was talking about all the problems in South Africa.
Salam Media.
Maybe why I've got a
Humanity
very
sets the agenda.
slightly different perspective about what South Africa is all about in the future. There's about 70 students in an MBA class. It's a mess. I mean, it is, you know, to try and control 70 people who are opinionated, who've got a cell phone in their hand, who are, you know, wanting to challenge you often about your views about what you're putting forward. Very difficult task. But some of the smartest people I've ever come across, people between 25 and 35 years old. Some of the smartest, sharpest minds I've ever come across. And do you know what the most energizing, the most encouraging part of my class is that 99% of the people in that class are people of color. People of color, the sharpest minds I've ever come across. And if that doesn't speak to the potential we have still in our country, in terms of where the future is going to be invested in, then I don't know what does. So Wits Business School, a very, very important part of, I guess in my context, giving back. It's not about getting money. I promise you the pay is absolutely rubbish. If any of you wanted to go into academics, I know Professor Sheikh is sitting here in the audience somewhere. It doesn't pay the rent. So, you know, I certainly can't live off the money that an academic makes. But the overall experience of teaching these students is absolutely unbelievable. So in those building of the career that I went through, the one thing that became very, very clear is that it doesn't really matter about the size of your business. Your business can be a business that's making 100,000 Rand a year or R1 billion a year. The complexities you deal with in your business are exactly the same. Sure, the field you deal in, the complexities of your industry are different, but discipline, being on top of your game, attention to detail, those elements are absolutely common and are absolutely necessary to make any business work, no matter the size of the business. And when you are running a small business, don't let anyone tell you that your business is any less complicated than running a multinational like MTN. It's not. It's not. Those skills are necessary irrespective of the size of business that you're managing. But there are things that small businesses can learn from big business. And I'm not talking about all big businesses. There are lots of examples of very, very bad big businesses, but those big businesses that get it right all have these things in common that are on the screen at the moment. I'm trying to read from a distance. With these eyes now, it's not so good. They are absolutely passionate about praising their people and growing and developing their people. Okay? They focus on revenue before costs. Now, that's a very, very sometimes alien concept. So many businesses, when they get into trouble, the first thing they do, boy, let's cut the marketing budget. Let's stop advertising. Let's stop going on to YouTube and Instagram and whatever else we're doing. Let's cut the cost because that's the way we're going to get successful. The really successful businesses focus on the top line first. They never stop finding ways of growing the top line. The really big businesses do that exceptionally well. They embrace technology, particularly the internet. The internet is your friend if you use it the correct way. Don't use the internet, your business will become irrelevant. They automate, they invest in systems. If something takes 20 hours, they try and find ways to reduce that by half. And then once they've done that, they try and find a way to even do that even better. It's a common and a relentless pursuit of excellence that takes place in these businesses. They measure everything. Are we successful? Are we not successful? If you can't measure it, you can't manage it. It's a very simple philosophy. And they push their people to get out of their comfort zones, find different things to do. I'm talking about now the good businesses. The good, big businesses do this very well. And my partner, Mr. Adam, is sitting right in front of me here. He's very good at helping out. If I could just maybe mark it a bit here, if you don't mind. He's very good at taking some of those disciplines that big businesses do well and bringing those to smaller businesses without strangling your ability to run your business, without making you into a bureaucracy, without you making your business into a whole set of committees and authorizations and approvals and other things which can make business very, very difficult. So there are things that us as small businesses can learn from the bigger businesses and embrace them. But business is not easy anymore. Uncle Solly spoke about some of these. I won't spend too much time trying to depress you. I'm also conscious of the fact that I'm standing between you and dinner, and that's a very, very, very dangerous position to be standing in. So I'm gonna try and speed it up. We know the current problems, not just in South Africa, but in the world, whether it's in the network in 1994, a lot of money, a few 100 million rand, but the investment that we made like 10 years later was still growing. That same investment was still growing. And that is before 3G came and 4G came and 5G and all these other things. Because technology is the type of investment, if you get the proposition right, the growth just grows exponentially, irrespective of what the initial investment was. So tech, you must not ignore. It is the one area where you get it right, the returns will be absolutely outstanding. But only do it with cash that is discretionary. I do not advise you to look for a tech investment with the money you've been saving for your son or daughter's university. Don't do that. Look for tech investments with money that you can spare, because tech, as attractive as it is also potentially the one area where you can lose big time. And I know some of the nominees tonight are tech people, and it's going to be quite interesting to see when the nominations are finally decided on. Here's another controversial one. Invest in South Africa. Sorry, Uncle, sorry. Invest in South Africa. My partners and I at the moment are looking for investments all over South Africa. Yeah, lots of guys are running. We're finding opportunities like you cannot believe. There are such golden opportunities in South Africa at the moment that if you are not seeing it because you've got an eye outside the country, you are missing the action right here at home. Stay out of Africa. My free bit of advice to you this evening, as unpalatable as it sounds, as lekker as Nigeria sounds, we're going to make lots of money, 180 million people. How can we afford not to be there? Don't go to Africa. The good money has been made in Africa already. If you go into other African countries, unless you've got big lungs, you've got a big balance sheet, you've got lots of cash, and you are patient, don't go to Africa. Currency is a problem. Economies are a problem. Governments are a problem. I can stand up here and give you stories of the things I saw in my time at MTN. We all know about the fine we got in Nigeria that almost sank a company the size of MTN. Be careful of Africa. In my words, you can quote me if you want, stay out of Africa. Make sure that if you want to build a sustainable business, you've got something which others cannot copy easily. If you've got something that can make money short term, that is easily copied, the minute other people are copying it, look for something else. Get out of that business, because it's a race to the bottom. As soon as someone else can copy what you are doing, everyone is racing to the bottom, and you don't want to be the first one to hit the bottom. Get out of there as quickly as you can. Find things that can disrupt. Disrupt the bigger players, disrupt the people, disrupt your own business. Change your own business models. Challenge your people to find ways to change the current business model that you're in before someone disrupts your business while you're counting your cash. Here's something particularly, and you know, if my late dad is listening, he's probably turning in his grave. Allow your employees to have a share of the profits. Oof. For Indian businesses, yes, that's a big thing, eh? You cannot believe the change in behavior you see from people in your business when they've got skin in the game. Skin in the game is the most motivating factor. The most sensitive part of any human being's body is their pocket. If you get them to buy into your business because they're going to get a piece, you will get commitment and effort and enthusiasm that you've never seen before. In a family business, to share. Yeah. I'll leave that with you. That's a big one to cross. Get rid of some of your customers. Hey, some guys are more trouble than they are worth. It's a tough one, particularly if they're paying big bucks. But sometimes you're spending so much of time trying to keep. Hey, Shane, he knows what I'm talking about. Some customers are high maintenance. They are draining your very essence of life. And you could be doing so much more with smaller customers who cumulatively bring you more return. Have the courage sometimes to say to your big customers, or some guys who've been with you for a long time, you're no longer my customer. Stay away from all this crap. You know what? I know guys have made money. I know guys have made money on Bitcoin and on Ethereum. You were lucky. It had nothing to do with skill. I promise you, it had nothing to do. This is not real, ladies and gentlemen. It is not real. You are chasing something that doesn't exist. You might as well be in the casino. You might as well be at Suncoast, because it is an absolute lottery. There's no science that supports anything that this is a valid or a smart investment to make. Stay away. If it's too good to be true, if it looks like it's too good to be true, it probably is. But at the end of the day, I guess most of us here are Muslims. And I think the one experience I've always, well, not one, there's a few, but at the very essence of our deen are certain things that we do that I think, irrespective of whether you apply them in a business context or you apply them in any other situation, that they make absolute sense. And it's amazing how often the things that I want to talk about now very, very quickly, we do them in other aspects of our lives, but we don't apply them in business. And I just want to share some of the things which, in the 35 odd years that I've been in big corporate, I've seen that from a foundation point of view, sits right in our religion. We were taught these things in madrasa. And for some reason, when we stepped into the work environment, some of it has become foreign to us. Stay away from the debt. Debt is bad, people. Let me tell you. Debt is the worst thing you can do into your business. I'll give you an example. I work with the guys at Morvest at the moment. Some of you may know the name Morvest. Morvest was a listed company. It was listed on the stock exchange for many years, 20 odd years. Morvest, 5 years ago, took the decision, probably inspired by someone getting, inspiration from above. We want zero debt in our business. They took all the debt out. To such an extent that even the photocopiers, which businesses often take by signing a HP agreement. I know Amin's not very happy with me now because anyway, we'll talk about it some other time. They took all the debt out of the business, every single cent. Today, the business is 3 times the size of what it was when they took the debt out. There's magic in having zero debt in your business. During COVID, the most resilient businesses were those that had strong balance sheets without the encumbrance of debt. There's a lot of wisdom in what we were taught by our beloved master and what we were taught in madrasa about debt. Your family comes first. I mean, and again, I'm not a Molana, so I don't want to preach, but I just want to share, I'm sharing experiences. Your family is first. No one on their deathbed ever said to the people that were standing around the bed, I wish I had spent more time in the office. No one says this. No one says that. Everyone on their deathbed says, I wish I had spent more time with my family. No matter how big your business gets, no matter how important it becomes, always make sure your family is first. Get up early. We have to get up for Fajr in any event. Get up a bit earlier than that and stay up. Getting up early is an amazing, it has this amazing effect on the amount of productivity you bring into your day. And again, what did our beloved master do? He slept after Isha and he got up very early. There's wisdom in some of these experiences. Always make your salah, no matter what the circumstances are. If you're in a board meeting and it's time for salah, stand up and walk out and go and read your salah. We are Muslims first and we are business people second. And stay humble. No matter how successful you become, no matter what CEO you become of whatever business, remember that they're going to wrap us in white cloth one day and they're going to put us into the ground. So stay humble no matter how successful you become. And don't make enemies in business. I've learned, particularly in the telco industry, people say the telco industry is so big, it's so successful. Actually, it's not. It is a very successful industry, but it's quite small. And people that you make enemies of, at some stage you're going to cross their paths again, and you never know in what circumstance that's going to take place. Forget about it. Move on. Don't make enemies in business. It's not worth it. Exercise. Again, something taught to us by our beloved master. Exercise. Stay active. An active body results in an active mind. And if it feels wrong, it probably is wrong. Stay away from it. No amount of money is worth doing something that when you go to bed at night, you're thinking, shouldn't I have done this? Should I have not done this? If there's a bit of doubt, leave it out. So I wanted to share, and as I said, when I stood up here, I was very worried about standing up in front of people who have done so many amazing things in business and speaking about something which was, in many ways where you are strong and I'm not. And that's why I just wanted to share some experiences, and inshallah, with Allah's hukam, you've got some benefit out of the discussion and some of what I've shared tonight. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakallah khair. Thanks, Junaid. Quite a lot of what Junaid covered is what I wanted to cover in my piece. And I'll try and omit quite a lot of the pieces that he did cover. I want to just touch on one thing, Junaid. My colleagues here from Al Baraka, Shabir at the back, when Junaid came in, he said, I'm an F&B shop. So my colleagues from F&B, I don't know if they're here, but I want to just give you guys some published stats about the Islamic finance industry, and then I'll go into my piece to just show to Junaid that, alhamdulillah, as a community, if you're using that as a proxy, he was taking a dig at me, I won't be happy about the HP. I'm actually quite proud to say that we can prove from actual numerical data that you guys can go and see. There's something that's called the BA 900 report, which is a report by the South African Reserve Bank that publishes total deposits and total assets of the banks. Islamic finance, we can prove that Islamic community or those consuming Sharia compliant products and services are actually net savers, and not by a small margin, by a big margin, like a 40 billion rand margin. So we have north of 50 billion rand in deposits as an industry, but we only have about 15 billion rand worth of assets, which means in comparison to the deposits we take in, we're actually sitting on surplus cash of 35 billion rand. So just on the HP side and the debt side of things. The other thing that I want to just say, sometimes you feel that you have an idea in your head and you're actually quite nuts because you're swimming completely against the current. And it's actually nice to hear somebody say things that resonate with you. And I'll do my best. We're running late. Not my fault. Zunaid and Uncle Solly took more time that there was allocated on the agenda. I'll try and keep to my time. They were taking digs at me the whole evening, so my chance to take some digs at them. I'll do my best to keep to my time, inshallah. I want to just anchor my conversation in 3 verses of the Holy Quran. Allahu yarzuq man yasha bighayri hisab. That's the first one. The second one, al-yawma akmaltu lakum dinakum wa atmamtu alaykum ni'mati wa raditu lakum al-islam deena. The third verse, inna Allah ya'muru bil adl wal ihsan wa ita'i dhil qurba wa yanha 'anil fahsha wal munkar wal baghi ya'idhukum la'allakum tadhakkarun. So just keep these 3 verses in your mind, and we'll go through my message, inshallah. Zunaid touched on some of the things on the screen there, the geopolitical landscape, oil and Russia-Ukraine war, and all of the things. It is most apparent that there is a geopolitical shift that's taking place in the world. If you can't see it, then we're living in a bubble, and we're living outside of the real world. You've got Russia-Ukraine war, you've got, I'm going to use a phrase here, the relationship between Saudi and US looks like it's on the rocks. You've got OPEC nations cutting back oil supply. Turkey and Saudi are busy speaking about joining the BRICS accord. You've got the BRICS nations speaking about creating their own reserve currency. You've got terror threats in South Africa that got issued by the US Embassy. You've got the Fed in the US that is increasing interest rates to prop up demand for the dollar. And through it all, these questions that we as business owners or people that are leading businesses in corporate or in whichever way or form, we're probably asking ourselves, okay, how is this going to actually impact us? And my personal opinion is actually quite similar to Zunaid's from a South African perspective is, I'm actually not stressed. I actually think that we'll be fine. I think we'll take a couple of claps here and there, but overall we won't drop. We'll probably still stabilize. And I think that's because of the tenacity that we have as a country. We've got great Chapter 9 institutions. We've got great independence. We've got probably one of the best regulated financial industries in the world. We've got independence of the judiciary, and we've got independence of the executive. And as much as, yes, the state capture and all of that, I think what the Zondo Commission actually showcased is, yeah, we actually do have independence. Yes, that was something that happened, but the independence of our Chapter 9 institutions actually shone through that entire process. We've got the deep tenacity of the entrepreneurs like yourselves that's sitting in the room that make the country tick. That's at the core and heart of everything that we do. What actually worries me is actually something much more deeper. Actually something that is contained within the subtext of some of our colloquialisms and some of the banter that we have amongst us. And I don't know if Imran is going to regret handing over the baton to me because I wasn't supposed to speak, he was supposed to speak. Because I'm going to be a little bit provocative on some of the things that I'm going to say, and I'm going to evoke something inside of us that will deeply question certain core beliefs of who we are. Not just as Muslims, but everyone who has some form of faith-based compass or ethical-based compass. The first thing that I want to say is, we say certain things as business owners. For example, we worry about our competitors. We try and undercut our competitors. We try and take it to our competitors. We almost in a fist fight with our competitors. And we do as much as we can to take the competitor out. And if I go back to my youth here in Durban, walking down Grey Street, Smith Street, West Street, you see 20 shoe shops lined. And those 20 shoe shops today are actually stalwarts of our community. Everybody made money. Nobody was fighting with anyone. We make statements like, the foreigners are coming and taking our jobs and taking over our businesses. We make statements in the gender discussion that, men are the gatekeepers of our careers. And you go into deeper elements. Uncle Solly was talking about certain elements of it. Indian businessmen, we've got an official, by previous Minister of Finance, we've got an official recognition. We are masters in Upla. We undercut the invoices and we put it in the shoebox. Junaid said it goes in the shoebox. So there's lots of things. And what worries me in all of this, is that we are stripping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala of His sovereign dominion. And pay attention, please, to what I'm going to say, because I'm going to be provocative and I'm going to evoke something inside of us. You see, when we make a statement like, men are the gatekeepers of our careers, or the foreigners are coming to take our jobs, or no, I have to go and box out the competitor. Do we believe that our sustenance is in the hand of that man offering you the job? Do you believe that your sustenance is as a result of a foreign national coming into our country? Do you believe that your sustenance will be diminished because a competitor emerges on the scene? Or do we believe that Allahu yarzuq, it is Allah who provides, man yasha, to whomever He wants to, bighayri hisab, without account to anyone? Is this our belief? Or have we denied Allah His sovereignty of being Ar-Raziq? And we have placed the dominion of Ar-Raziq, that absolute dominion, into the hand of a puny human being. It's a very important thing. Because through all of this, unfortunately, what we have done is we have been duped into the idea that Islam does not have the answers. We have been duped into the idea that an Anglo-Saxon economic system is the rules by which the game needs to be played. We have been duped into the idea that secularism is something that is modern and not this archaic system of Islam. Do we have the belief, Al-yawma akmaltu lakum dinakum, today have I perfected your deen? وَأَتْمَمْتُ عَلَيْكُمْ نِعْمَتِي, and I have placed in it ni'mah. وَرَضِيتُ لَكُمُ الْإِسْلَامَ دِينًا, and I take pleasure in giving you Islam. Do we believe that our deen is perfect? Do we believe that it has barakah and ni'mah in it? Do we believe that it is something pleasurable from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Or are we continuously seeking a business idea, a business acumen, a business principle, a business ideology, a business philosophy from somewhere else? And in conclusion, we don't need to import secular ideas. We don't need to adopt the rules written by a system that is not fit for purpose within our value system. We don't need to. And we need to be okay with that. We need to apply the lens that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala applies. And I'll conclude with this verse. Inna Allah ya'muru bil adl. And Junaid touched on it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instructs bil adl, with justice. Is there justice in everything that we do? Are we just to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Or do we strip him of his sovereign dominion? Wal ihsan, and good deeds, and good actions, and goodness. Wa ita'i al qurba, and to be good to those that are close to us, our family members, our loved ones. Wa yanha 'anil fahsha wal munkar wal baghi, and to stay away from fahsha, munkar, and baghi. Everything that is bad, wrong, those things that speak to the carnal, latent nafs. These are the questions that I want to evoke in you tonight. Because as members of the Minara Chamber of Commerce, one of the deeply rooted principles in the Minara Chamber of Commerce is that it is rooted in the Islamic ethos of doing business. And if we fracture the integrity of cardinal principles of our Aqidah, then I'm not worried about the Fed increasing interest rates and hyperinflation. I'm afraid we've then entered the end of days. Because then Iman has been stripped out of our hearts. So we make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we, as the custodians of business, maintain the integrity of our Aqidah and still allow Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the sovereignty of his dominion as Ar-Raziq and Al-Adil and all of the different sifat that we praise him with, inshallah. Wa ma alayna illa al-balagh. I did my best to stay to 10 minutes, and I will round up with the announcements, inshallah. We want to just acknowledge and recognize Mr. Umi Singh, the former MP, and the Consul General of India. Welcome, and thank you for gracing us with your presence. Few announcements. We're going to break for Salah and dinner. Salah facilities are available on this floor as we exit the hall. It's buffet, and as I've been instructed to by the coordinators, the ladies' buffet is through these doors where the capital A banners are, so to the left of the veranda, and the men's buffet is to the right of the hall. Please drop in your business cards into the box at the entrance. There's going to be a lucky draw, inshallah. And and I'm just trying to make sure I've covered all of the announcements. Yes, I have covered all of the announcements. And we're going to call on Brother Mahmoud and Muhammad Sidat from Hilal TV, who is broadcasting this event, to give us a short message. And they will then play a short clip for us, and we'll immediately break for dinner and Salah. We are allowing 30 minutes for Salah and dinner. So inshallah, we would reconvene around 9 p.m. and then hopefully get into why we're all here is to recognize the greatness of all of the entrepreneurs here, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. I'll hand over to Muhammad and Mahmoud, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. It's a really dangerous place to be speaking at the moment just before dinner is served. So we will be quick. It's just a simple message from us, Mahmoud and I, from Hilal TV. We, in our pursuit of getting to where we are today as Hilal TV and being on air now for 5 or 6 months, we always go back to our why. So very often in our respective businesses, we know what we do. Very often we know how we do it, but seldom do we know what our real why is. And our why at Hilal TV has been one of, and in our decision-making processes.
Imagine a world where each person has access to their basic rights. A world where everyone is equal. Imagine a world where each person will have an equal share in each single seed of wheat. Where each child has the freedom to learn. This Ramadan, we ask you to feed the fasting in 14 countries around the world with AMA. Provide an iftar box for 100 Rand, a hamper for 1,500 Rand, or feed a village for 15,000 Rand. Donate today at Africa Muslims Agency and imagine the difference you can make.
To take ownership of it. We're here to serve you. Take ownership, use it. Your businesses. Put your business in there, it might surprise you. They say advertising is only expensive if it doesn't work. I challenge you to phone some of the advertisers, Ashish. Some of them are sitting amongst you. We don't have a single unhappy client. Our rates may even surprise you even further. But join us, because it is a journey and this channel belongs to you. We'll leave you with a video. It's 5 minutes. It will summarize what the channel is all about. May add some color to the event. Shukran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Our daily news bulletins provide the best of local and international news segments. For all the kiddies, we have Hilal Kids.
Proudly sponsored by Standard Bank Sharia Banking. Explore our range of Sharia banking products today.
Islam in Africa to Africa.
For innovative products rooted in traditional Sharia economic principles, explore our Sharia banking products today.
World. It was quite difficult because firstly being female, coming into the industry.
My focus is currently on women to make them realize that put your head down, work. There's no difference between us and a man. You can succeed and you can have the work-life balance. You can be done.
I was very young and I would walk into these corporate companies and they would look at me.
We live in an age of disruption and we need to be able to create disruptive thinkers.
I think disruption is an interesting word and maybe region being a disruptor is an interesting phrase as well.
Who can think for themselves, who can express their thoughts.
So region being a disruptor hopefully is a mission with a purpose.
But we also need people who are not afraid to push the boundaries.
So we have now broken barriers by going globally to 110 different countries.
I wish that our community would understand that and know that Rosie is going to come from Allah. So collaborate, share.
The circle between government, business, and now for me, I've been 27, 28 years working intricately on the ground with citizens in the communities.
Is if we actually become champions of human connectedness and we work and we learn across industry lines. It's all about sustainability for me.
And how Africans should partner with us in this journey of trying to be relevant and impactful, then I think at the least we must agree it can't be business as usual.
Yes, getting an extremely good business coach to coach your senior leadership team.
The awakening came to me that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala somehow chooses certain people who are kind of capable, who are capable of networking.
Creativity and futuristic thinking is how we're going to define those roles that we don't know yet.
Those that are positive and still give it their best. So, okay, now we've got load shedding. Either you can complain about it or you can put a generator in.
To take a chance of whatever you're doing it, but you must be a focus on doing this, and it can be a successful.
We have the view that in every adversity, there's opportunity.
I should have started when I was 10 years younger, when you had a little more energy and more gumption. You know, nowadays you have all the vision and mission, but the body says, nobody asked me.
Jazakallah, thanks so much for your time. And thanks to Minara also for giving us this opportunity.
Minara have recognized me after 30 years, so I can understand that definitely I've done something good.
I thank you guys for coming over. I thank the Minara for giving us the nomination.
Jazakallah so much for having us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be here and for listening to my story.
May Allah reward you abundantly for having me. Jazakallah so much for having me on your show.
Jazakallah for those kind words. I really appreciate it.
And thank you for the opportunity.
I must tell one more time, thanks to you guys there. You're taking so much of your time and coming and taking the interview and everything. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you all whatever you all deserve the best, and to Hilal TV to become a successful more and more, inshallah.
Proudly sponsored by Standard Bank Sharia Banking. Explore our range of Sharia banking products today. Proudly sponsored by Standard Bank Sharia Banking. Explore our range of Sharia banking products today.
إن أردتم أن تكونوا شامة بين الورى فاقتفوا آثار جيل للمعالي سطرا. إن أردتم أن تكونوا شامة بين الورى.
Proudly sponsored by Standard Bank Sharia Banking. Explore our range of Sharia banking products today.
إن أردتم أن تكونوا شامة بين الورى فاقتفوا آثار جيل للمعالي سطرا. إن أردتم أن تكونوا شامة بين الورى فاقتفوا آثار جيل للمعالي سطرا. جيل زيد وأسيد ومعاذ والبراء. إن أردتم أن تكونوا شامة بين الورى فاقتفوا آثار جيل للمعالي سطرا. إن أردتم أن تكونوا شامة بين الورى.
For innovative products rooted in traditional Sharia economic principles, explore our Sharia banking products today.
لزيد وأسيد ومعاذ والبراء
In the exciting build-up to the Minara Business Awards on the 28th of October, inshallah, that Hilal TV is proud to be broadcasting live. We're speaking to a few of the nominees and getting their very, very interesting stories.
Oh, is there a story? My story. Where did it begin, actually?
I should have started when I was 10 years younger.
My journey started actually when I was around 13 years old.
As being a female entrepreneur, I was more in a male-dominating world.
It was quite difficult because firstly being female, coming into the industry. My focus is currently on women to make them realize that put your head down and work. There's no difference between us and a man. You can succeed and you can have the work-life balance. You can be.
Their thoughts.
So region being a disruptor, hopefully is a mission with a purpose.
But we also need people who are not afraid to push the boundaries.
We have now broken barriers by going globally to 110 different countries.
I wish that our community would understand that and know that Rosie is going to come from Allah. So collaborate, share.
The circle between government, business, and now for me, I've been 27, 28 years working intricately on the ground with citizens in the communities.
Is if we actually become champions of human connectedness and we work and we learn across industry lines. It's all about sustainability for me.
And how Africans should partner with us in this journey of trying to be relevant and impactful, then I think at the least we must agree it can't be business as usual.
Yes, getting an extremely good business coach to coach your senior leadership team.
The awakening came to me that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala somehow chooses certain people who are kind of capable, who are capable of networking.
Creativity and futuristic thinking is how we're going to define those roles that we don't know yet.
Those that are positive and still give it their best. So, okay, now we've got load shedding. Either you can complain about it or you can put a generator in.
To take a chance of whatever you're doing it, but you must be a focus on doing this and it can be a successful.
We have the view that in every adversity, there's opportunity.
I should have started when I was 10 years younger, when you had a little more energy and more gumption. You know, nowadays, you have all the vision and mission, but the body says, nobody asked me.
Jazakallah, thanks so much for your time. And thanks to Minara also for giving us this opportunity.
Minara have recognized me after 30 years, so I can understand that definitely I've done something good.
I thank you guys for coming over. I thank the Minara for giving us the nomination.
Jazakallah so much for having us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be here and for listening to my story.
May Allah reward you abundantly for having me. Jazakallah so much for having me on your show.
Jazakallah for those kind words. I really appreciate it.
And thank you for the opportunity.
I must tell one more time, thanks to you guys there for taking so much of your time and coming and taking the interview and everything. May Allah Subhanahu wa ta'ala give you all whatever you all deserve the best, and to Hilal TV to become a successful more and more, inshallah.
Proudly sponsored by Standard Bank Sharia Banking. Explore our range of Sharia banking products today.
Lift me higher. Let's go higher. Let's go higher. We're gonna be إن أردتم أن تكونوا شامة بين الورى فاقتفوا آثار جيل للمعالي سطرا. إن أردتم أن تكونوا شامة بين
Proudly sponsored by Standard Bank Sharia Banking. Explore our range of Sharia banking products today.
In the exciting build-up to the Minara Business Awards on the 28th of October, inshallah, that Hilal TV is proud to be broadcasting live. We're speaking to a few of the nominees and getting their very, very interesting stories.
Oh, is there a story? My story. Where did it begin, actually?
I should have started when I was 10 years younger.
My journey started actually when I was around 13 years old.
As being a female entrepreneur, I was more in a male-dominating world.
It was quite difficult because firstly being female, coming into the industry, my focus is currently on women to make them realize that put your head down, work. There's no difference between us and the men. You can succeed and you can have the work-life balance. You can be done.
I was very young and I would walk into these corporate companies and they would look at me.
We're living in an age of disruption and we need to be able to create disruptive thinkers.
I think disruption is an interesting word, and maybe region being a disruptor is an interesting phrase as well.
Who can think for themselves, who can express their thoughts.
So region being a disruptor hopefully is a vision with a purpose.
But we also need people who are not afraid to push the boundaries.
We have now broken barriers by going globally to 110 different countries.
I wish that our community would understand that and know that Rosie is going to come from Allah. So collaborate, share.
The circle between government, business, and now for me, I've ever been 27, 28 years working intricately on the ground with citizens in the communities.
Is if we actually become champions of human connectedness and we work and we learn across industry lines. It's all about sustainability for me.
And how Africans should partner with us in this journey of trying to be relevant and impactful, then I think at the least we must agree it can't be business as usual.
Yes, getting an extremely good business coach to coach your senior leadership team.
The awakening came to me that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala somehow chooses certain people who are kind of capable, who are capable of networking.
Creativity and futuristic thinking is how we're going to define those roles that we don't know yet.
Those that are positive and still give it their best. So, okay, now we've got load shedding. Either you can complain about it or you can put a generator in.
To take a chance of whatever you're doing it, but you must be a focus on doing this, and it can be a successful.
We have the view that in every adversity, there's opportunity.
I should have started when I was 10 years younger, when you had a little more energy and more gumption. Nowadays, we have all the vision and mission, but the body says, nobody asked me.
Jazakallah, thanks so much for your time. And thanks to Minara also for giving us this opportunity.
Minara have recognized me after 30 years, so I can understand that definitely I've done something good.
I thank you guys for coming over. I thank the Minara for giving us the nomination.
Jazakallah so much for having us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be here and for listening to my story.
May Allah reward you abundantly for having me. Jazakallah so much for having me on your show.
Jazakallah for those kind words. I really appreciate it.
And thank you for the opportunity.
I must tell one more time, thanks to you guys there. You're taking so much of your time and coming and taking the interview and everything. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you all whatever you all deserve the best, and to Hilal TV to become a successful more and more, inshallah.
Proudly sponsored by Standard Bank Sharia Banking. Explore our range of Sharia banking products today.
إن أردتم أن تكونوا شامة بين الورى فاقتفوا آثار جيل للمعالي سطرا. إن أردتم أن تكونوا شامة بين الورى فاقتفوا آثار جيل للمعالي سطرا. جيل زيد وأسيد ومعاذ والبراء. إن أردتم أن تكونوا شامة بين الورى فاقتفوا آثار جيل للمعالي سطرا. إن أردتم أن تكونوا شامة بين
For innovative products rooted in traditional Sharia economic principles, explore our Sharia banking products today.
Lift me higher. Let's go higher. Let's go higher. We're gonna be alright.
Firstly, we're extremely grateful and honored that we have this opportunity to present our work at the forthcoming awards by Minara. And it gives us a chance to sit back in a sense and reflect on our journey as to how we got here. It started roughly 25 years ago. It was just after the dawn of democracy in South Africa. And there was this call for the massification of higher education, given our difficult past. And so post-94, some of the founding fathers of Vision Business Schools, Professor Yusuf Karodia and Professor Bana, both of whom are late now, wanted to react to this call for massification of higher education. How do we create access for the vast majority of South Africans who were previously denied access and disadvantaged and therefore could not access higher education? So that really was where it all started, the journey started. in how we can become a solution to this problem. And through the grace of the Almighty, we started this institution in the 1990s. And 25 years later, when we look back, it's been an interesting journey. We've built an institution with thousands of alumni in different parts of the world. We have a footprint that goes across Southern Africa. We run a number of learning centers in different provinces of South Africa and some countries in Southern Africa. And most recently, we joined a network of private universities across the African continent. So that's given us now an international perspective and going beyond our country of origin, South Africa and Southern Africa. We can take now an African perspective, if you like, on what are the major trends and challenges in higher education. But through the grace of the Almighty, it's been a successful journey. We currently have about 11,000 students across a whole range of higher education programs. As a private university, if you like, we're entering into a very interesting, albeit uncertain phase ahead of us. I think disruption is an interesting word, and maybe region being a disruptor is an interesting phrase as well. Perhaps the one thing to keep in mind is what we're trying to resolve through our work in higher education. I think we always ask ourselves, why do we do what we do? I regularly ask my colleagues, it's not just how and when and what, but why do you do? What brings you to work early in the morning? What keeps you here late if you need to work till late? And so we keep on asking ourselves if the rationale is clear. So maybe to give you some numbers, to give you a sense of perspective, we have in South Africa roughly 60 million people. And a significant number of the 60 million, let's call it 50%, are young people. So that's 20 to 25 million, up to 30 million South Africans, young, require education, skills, need to find jobs, the economy must absorb them. Employability is a big issue in South Africa, unemployment is a big issue in South Africa, and the economy needs skills. And out of this 25 to 30 million young South Africans, there's not more than 1,200,000 in public higher education. A further 250, at most 300,000 are in private higher education. So in total, there's 1.5 million, only 1.5 million young South Africans who are accessing higher education, public and private. But the reality is there are millions of South Africans desperately seeking a space in higher education, who unfortunately will not find a seat in higher education. And that means that their skills is at risk, the families are at risk, the economies are at risk, and society is at risk. Pre-COVID, there were major disruptions in education. There were major disruptions in commerce and industry. Jobs and industries were being created and destroyed by the fourth industrial revolution. This is before COVID. COVID has unfortunately exacerbated the problem of disruption. More jobs and lives have been lost. More industries have been damaged, probably permanently. And in this kind of context, then, how do you use disruptive technology for good reasons, for positive outcomes? And I think education and disruptive technology has a lot of benefit. If we can figure out how is it that we can let technology and people race together rather than race against each other so that nobody is left behind. That's the kind of complexity that we deal with in education on a daily basis. How do we train people in coding and robotics of the fourth industrial revolution and related skills so that nobody is left behind? That is by far the biggest challenge I think education providers across the world have, and we certainly in South Africa and by extension the African continent, we have a bigger problem to deal with because access to technology is challenging at best. Our access to data is challenging, but costs of data challenging. Infrastructure is a problem across the continent, definitely in sub-Saharan Africa. So we have to work a lot harder than our counterparts in the Northern Hemisphere or in the Western world, loosely speaking. We have to work a lot harder to make sure that we've got equitable access and affordable access to higher education so that, again, nobody is left behind. So region being a disruptor, hopefully is a mission with a purpose. We're not disrupting for the sake of disrupting. I think maybe the theme of disruption must be taken one step further. So we need to disrupt the system enough so more people can access higher education and that it becomes a lot more affordable. But the other element of disruption, if we extend the theme, is that there's a lot on the horizon for education and for young people that's very worrying, but it's also a moment that's pregnant with opportunity, if you like. There are new forms of education, and I think the COVID period fast-tracked what a lot of universities around the world were wanting to do anyway, digitally transform and digitize. But I think COVID sped up those plans, and people digitized under an emergency during 2020, 2021. Now that the emergency, God willing, has passed us, how do we extend the benefit of this disruptive technology? And I think we're seeing early examples of it already. There are new agile institutions, generally known as EdTech, educational technology companies, that are becoming very meaningful players in higher education globally, in skills development. So one can go to university, so to speak, without going to university. It's not just remote learning, there are new models of education people are using for online and blended learning. For example, there's a phenomenon that's now about a decade old called MOOCs, massive open online courses. And this is literally thousands of educational services, short courses, high-end, low-end, strategic, non-strategic, etc., across all sectors of society, that in South African rands you can pay a few $100 and do an online course as a MOOC. But then that also is becoming very mature. And these days you have what is called nano degrees, micro credentialing qualifications. And so a young South African, or a young African for that matter, has a number of strategic choices to make. Should I burn my bridges with society and go to campus for a few years? Should I sit in the comfort of my home, possibly look for a job, have a side hustle, and study a nano degree? Should I build a whole plethora or bouquet of nano qualifications, and over a period of many years through interesting short courses, I build for myself an interesting career? Keep in mind that there's a World Economic Forum statistic that is very interesting, maybe cliche, but still interesting. That 65% of children entering school will end up in jobs that are yet to be created. 65% of everybody going to grade out of grade 1 will do something 12 or 15 years from now that has not been thought of. That just gives you a sense of scale and velocity of disruption. There'll be completely new jobs and new industries we've not thought about. How then must education organize itself so that it's able to take advantage of this disruptive future? When the future is so scrambled, uncertain, and difficult to predict, how do you run curriculum? How do you run educational programs? How do you prepare students for the world of work when there's so much of disruption in the world of work? So I think the disruptive theme is definitely impacting education. There are lots of opportunities, and there's certainly threats. Many large universities with a big physical presence and big campuses and lots of staff are thinking about whether they'll be sitting with empty classrooms. And all the faculty will be sitting in their homes with a Teams call or a Zoom call or some other technology, interacting with lots of students in other parts of the world. So what is really the future of education? I think all the stakeholders are not sure. But there's certainly opportunities, and there are threats, and disruptive and exponential technologies is a major stimuli for all of these opportunities and threats. We need to recognize there's a lot of disruption in the environment, positive and negative. And there are new models of engaging with skills and learning and university education, etc. And the third reality is that society must not be left behind whilst the big tech companies figure out the future of humanity. And in a sense, Regent Business School is trying to, in its own way, react to these priorities, these macro.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. In the build-up and the excitement to the Minara Business Awards happening on the 28th of October, inshallah, the Hilal TV is proud to be broadcasting live. We're speaking to a few of the nominees and understanding their stories and, their valuable lessons that they've learned over the years to get them to where they are today. It's my great privilege to welcome Yasira Suleiman. Assalamu alaikum, Yasira. Thank you for joining us.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and jazakallah for this opportunity.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. Yasira, a well-known name, in community circles, someone who's been selfless, driving community initiatives over the many years. Tell us a little bit about your story, Yasira.
My story, where did it begin actually? My story is quite an interesting story. It began, I think it was in 2008. Yes, definitely 2008. We're just coming up, kids were little, just trying to get my profession going. I'm an optometrist by qualification, and I don't say by profession, because I think I've now become more of a humanitarian by profession. But getting practices started, getting kids growing, and then suddenly, alhamdulillah, you start earning and the kids start growing and you wonder, okay, what's our purpose in life? And then you start trying to teach the kids also about the less privileged and how fortunate we are. So I decided in 2008 to do a very small project with my kids, which is, so I practice in the township of Kwamashu, and I told my kids, let's do something for Eid, for this little madrasa behind our practice, and gift them for Eid, and do it, we can make up this whole lot of gifts. So it was me and my 4 children that made up these beautiful gifts and went and gifted these children for Eid. And I think that's what hooked me at that stage, because when I looked at that madrasa and I looked at these kids, and we looked at the smiles on their faces, and when we looked at the appreciation, and when we looked at where they live and where they come from and where we are so blessed, and they basically had nothing. And from then on, I think one thing led to another, and then obviously being in, within mums committees in schools, being within your social circles that you are, and within your kids' friends, and you start telling others about what little that you did, and the joy and the satisfaction it brought to you as well as to the recipients. And the very next year, I had a whole lot of social networking, and within our social networks and within our my kids' friends, moms who said, hey, we want to join you and we want our kids to be part of this. And it grew to, and I must say in 2008, we just did literally 30 gifts for a very small madrasa. And the
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. In the build-up to the Minara Business Awards on the 28th of October, which Hilal TV will be televising live, inshallah, we have a little bit of an opportunity to talk to some of the nominees. And with us today is Yunus Hussain. Assalamu alaikum, Yunus. Thank you for joining us.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thanks for having me.
Congratulations on being a nominee for the Minara Business Awards, and these awards want to profile some of the individuals who've made a difference in the business world and in the community world. But perhaps you can tell us a little bit about your journey and getting to where you are today, Yunus.
Alhamdulillah, by the grace of Allah, I have been involved in international trade, export development, and investment promotion, starting my journey in government in 1995. It's more than 28 years of experience in various fields in economic development, trade, export promotion, and investment, both globally and domestically in South Africa. Playing a key role of negotiating, promoting.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. We hope that everybody is enjoying the tail end of their dessert. If we can please ask for everyone to please try and settle down and take their seats as soon as possible, so that we can begin with the main part of our program, which is the awards. We'll try and give everybody another 5 minutes or so. It's now 9:15, If we can allow everybody another 5 minutes to begin settling down, and we'll begin at 9:20, inshallah. Jazakallah khair.
In the exciting build-up to the Minara Business Awards on the 28th of October, inshallah, that Hilal TV is proud to be broadcasting live. We're speaking to a few of the nominees and getting their very, very interesting stories.
Oh, is there a story? My story. Where did it begin, actually?
I should have started when I was 10 years younger.
My journey started actually when I was around 13 years old.
As being a female entrepreneur, I was more in a male-dominating world.
It was quite difficult because firstly being female, coming into the industry, my focus is currently on women to make them realize that put your head down, work. There's no difference between us and a man. You can succeed and you can have the work-life balance. You can be done.
I was very young and I would walk into these corporate companies and they would look at me.
We live in an age of disruption, and we need to be able to create disruptive thinkers.
I think disruption is an interesting word, and maybe region being a disruptor is an interesting phrase as well.
Who can think for themselves, who can express their thoughts.
So region being a disruptor hopefully is a mission with a purpose.
But we also need people who are not afraid to push the boundaries.
We have now broken barriers by going globally to 110 different countries.
I wish that our community would understand that and know that rose is going to come from Allah. So collaborate, share.
The circle between government, business, and now for me, I've ever been 27, 28 years working intricately on the ground with citizens in the communities.
Is if we actually become champions of human connectedness and we work and we learn across industry lines. It's all about sustainability for me.
And how Africans should partner with us in this journey of trying to be relevant and impactful, then I think at the least we must agree it can't be business as usual.
Yes, getting an extremely good business coach to coach your senior leadership team.
The awakening came to me that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala somehow chooses certain people who are kind of capable, who are capable of networking.
Creativity and futuristic thinking is how we're going to define those roles that we don't know yet.
Those that are positive and still give it their best. So, okay, now we've got load shedding. Either you can complain about it or you can put a generator in.
To take a chance of whatever you're doing it, but you must be a focus on doing this and it can be a successful.
We have the view that in every adversity, there's opportunity.
I should have started when I was 10 years younger, when you had a little more energy and more gumption. Nowadays, you have all the vision and mission, but the body says, nobody asked me.
Jazakallah, thanks so much for your time. And thanks to Minara also for giving us this opportunity.
Minara have recognized me after 30 years, so I can understand that definitely I've done something good.
I thank you guys for coming over. I thank the Minara for giving us the nomination.
Jazakallah so much for having us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be here and for listening to my story.
May Allah reward you abundantly for having me. Jazakallah so much for having me on your show.
Jazakallah for those kind words. I really appreciate it.
And thank you for the opportunity.
I must tell one more time, thanks to you guys there. You're taking so much of your time and coming and taking the interview and everything. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you all whatever you all deserve the best, and to Hilal TV to become a successful more and more, inshallah.
Proudly sponsored by Standard Bank Sharia Banking. Explore our range of Sharia banking products today.
إن أردتم أن تكونوا شامة بين الورى فاقتفوا آثار جيل للمعالي.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي أطعمنا وسقانا وجعلنا من المسلمين. Can we please ask everyone to take their seats and try and remain as quiet as possible? I know most of you are still trying to finish off your desserts, but we are getting into the main part of the event. And if we can please ask everyone to start settling down. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Please, can I please make one last appeal for everyone to please try and take their seats and settle down so that we can begin with the main part of the event. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. I was thinking of how we introduce the first part of the event, which is the prize giving and the introduction to the prize giving. And Imran sort of gave me an idea of how I should do it. So, Auntie Fauzia, please, the manner in which I'm going to introduce you was recommended by Imran. So, don't shout me, you can smack him. We have a problem in South Africa where we need to find jobs for our retired politicians. Some politicians want to become comedians and dallas. Other politicians now have roles as the Vice President of Chambers of Commerce. So we welcome you on stage to please introduce the awards for the evening.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you very much, Program Director. Can we have some silence? And I did see some people leaving. Actually, this is the hallmark of the event, and that is the finalist and the prize giving. So please don't leave. The annual Minara Chamber of Commerce Business Awards, as you can see, recognizes the determination, commitment, and excellence of extraordinary businesses, organizations, individuals in our community. It also recognizes that business or organizations, when combined with purpose and intent, will of course succeed. Please don't get worried. You know, normally politicians talk for long, not the retired ones, but. So the individuals that we recognize tonight have inspirational stories. You might have heard, it was on the video on the screen all the time. So these stories that give us hope, yes, when all around is in despair and disrepair. So they actually exemplify that South Africans can and will overcome all adversaries to triumph. The Minara Chamber of Business, or I would say the Minara Business Awards, comprises of 6 categories: the business entity, the business persons, the business woman, young entrepreneur, professional and community builder. So you can read about their journeys in our booklet or on our various social media links by Salam Media. We thank them for that. So nominations were called for from the community earlier in the year. And of course, an independent panel of judges evaluated the nominees and their submissions. All the nominations received The nominations that we received were very impressive, I must say. And the judges had to apply themselves to choose the winners. So we must thank our judges. They're all here seated in the front. Atul Padakar and our former director, Mr. Ibrahim Vauda, and also Professor Kasim. So we wish to congratulate all the nominees and winners, and our winners who will be announced shortly. It's going to get very exciting. We salute you in your respective fields, and let us together build our nation. Let us work together to build unity and fight poverty, and a better country for ourselves and generations to come. We hope that these awards will inspire our younger generations and others to strive for excellence. We encourage our community to look out for these nominations for 2023 and nominate a business or individual who you think is worthy of recognition. We express our appreciation to the sponsors as well. They are seated here. And without further ado, let me hand over to our program director, Mr. Amin. Thank you very much.
Jazakallah khair. Auntie Fawzia, please do stay on stage. And we'll ask Uncle Solly, the chairman of Minara Chamber of Commerce, to please join Auntie Fawzia on stage, and Imran Noorbai, provincial head of Standard Bank Consumer and High Net Worth Clients. Can we please ask them to come on stage? Each year, the awards recognize businesses and individuals who have succeeded and grown in the faces of challenges, whether in their business, in the service of community, in their profession, or in their commitments. And sometimes there is an extraordinary individual that stands out across multiple domains and have contributed to the country at large. And tonight we want to, under the Special Recognition Award, we want to honor one such person, and that is Yunus Hussain, who is the Deputy Director of the Department of Trade and Industry and Head of Invest SA, and has played a significant role in driving domestic and foreign direct investment into our country. And if we go into when we were in the hard lockdown in 2020, he intervened at a national level, ensured supply chains, which is key to the supply of goods and services in the country, were maintained, ensured essential raw materials were sustained throughout it. And this year, we present Yunus Hussain with the Special Recognition Award, and we ask him to please come on stage to receive the award. We move on to the next category of awards, and you notice, those of us who have been with us over the past few years, we've changed the format of the event just to save significant amount of time, and hopefully we'll send everyone home a bit earlier. We won't be calling all of the finalists up on stage, just the finalists would be called up on stage, and we won't be playing the profiles of each of the finalists. We've printed the profiles in the books. Please do take it home and read the achievements of each of our finalists. Each of the business category winners will also win a return Joburg Durban flight, courtesy of Lift Airways, who's just launched their new route between Durban and Joburg. And we'd like to thank Abida Parker of Lift Airways. Could you please join on stage for this part of the presentation, because each of the business category winners will receive one of that. And also there would be a business consulting session from WizBiz Consulting to each of the winners. The first category of award that we will be giving this evening is for the female business leader who has not only grown their business but also made a mark in the community. And the finalists of the Business Woman of the Year category are Zahida Kara Suleiman of Kaizen Continuous Improvement Systems, Rukshana Rashid Modan of Apex Development, and Mariam Tayyib Kassem of Leicester Foods. And the winner of the award, is drumroll, Mariam Tayyib Kassem. Just an announcement before we move on to the next category. All finalists, not just the winners, all finalists, at the end of the award ceremony, just after the vote of thanks, could we please ask all of the finalists to gather on stage because we want to take a picture for the media. So just an announcement to all of our finalists, please don't leave before the end of the function, because we do want to capture the moment with all of you. Jazakallah Mariam, well done. And well done to all of our finalists. The next category is the Business Entity of the Year. And this category recognizes a business that has grown successfully, has a high brand awareness, and has an impact on the community. And the Business Entity of the Year category, the finalists are Natal Box Factory, Regent Business School, and Plastimed Liquid Manufacturers. And drum roll, Regent Business School. Can I try and score some come please, Sheikh Ahmed. Can I score some brownie points as you're walking up? You know, they say we must take our du'as of our asatid. I can proudly say that I'm an alumni of Regent Business School, alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khair, and well done to Regent Business School and to all of the finalists in this category. The next category is the Business Person of the Year, and this category recognizes a business leader who is not only successful in their business and makes a significant contribution to the broader economy through their participation in social efforts. And the finalists of this category was Hanif Salah of Sabah Collection, Muhammad Amra of Pam Golding, and Yusuf Bucks of Multivolt. And the winner of this category, drum roll, is Hanif Salah. Jazakallah khair, Mubarak to all of the finalists and the winners. And at this point, we'll ask Uncle Swali, Auntie Fawzia, Abida, and Imran, thank you for your services. Auntie Fawzia, we'll find another job for you in your retirement as a politician. Can I please call on the following Minara directors, Nasim Katarada, Isa Hassan, and Uncle Razak Juma, that will hand over the awards for the next category of winners. The next category is the Young Entrepreneur of the Year. And this category recognizes a young person who is growing their business and displays a high level of innovation and modern business acumen. And the finalists in the Young Entrepreneur of the Year category are Musa Bucks, founder of Pedro's, Yusuf Arbi, founder of the Ivy Wellness Clinic, and Talha Mutala, founder of Mutala Perfumes. And drum roll. I'm reading right, there's a tie. Can I just double check? I mean, it's right, it's a tie, isn't it? Talha Mutala and Musa Bucks. Jazakallah khair, well done. The next category is the Professional Achiever of the Year Award. And this category recognizes a person who has displayed achievements not just in their chosen field, but through a wider expertise set. And the finalists in the Professional Category Achiever Award are Yunus Hussain, Fiona Khan, and Dr. Shabnam Abdullah. And we'll call on Dr. Faisal Suleiman and Nasim Katrara to please present this award to the winner, who have also won, I forgot to mention Talha and Musa, you also won courtesy return flight of Lyft and Wizbuz consulting session. My apologies for omitting that. And the Professional Achiever Award as well, courtesy of Lyft and return flight, the Joburg route, and Wizbuz consulting. The winner, professional category. Sorry, not Dr. Faisal Suleiman. Accountant. Sorry. Winner of professional category is Fiona Cup. Jazakallah khair. Can I please ask the following Minara directors to join me on stage? Uncle Razak Juma, Uncle Daud Lockhart, and Uncle Aslam Ismail, as we get into the final category of awards. And this last and special category is the Community Builder category. And we pay recognition to those who have been actively involved in social welfare, relief, aid, and empowerment and development of our communities. And this year, the board of Minara decided that the Community Builder Award should recognize the contributions of the finalists in the face of the challenging global pandemic. Minara has decided that all 4 finalists will receive the Minara Community Builder of the Award. Minara Community Builder of the Year Award. Our first recipient is not a doctor, but I have earned the special right to call her doctor and auntie. Auntie Dr. Yasira Suleiman of Caring Sisters Network, who has been at the forefront of many disasters and special programs that have provided aid to many South Africans and international recipients. The next recipient in the Community Builder Award goes to Ashraf Ismail of Fleet Max, who has been actively involved in road safety awareness and education for over 25 years. Jazakallah khair. The next Community Builder Award goes to a young community builder who has selflessly dedicated his time together with his team at Salam Media Foundation. We know them as Salam Media Foundation, Salam Foundation, with projects that have not only been providing aid, but have also created self-sustaining initiative of the Farm in a City project. Ladies and gentlemen, we call upon Azhar Bali of the Salam Foundation. Okay, correction from Azhar on my side. The two organizations are independent of each other. You have Salam Media and you've got the Salam Foundation. So they are independent of each other, and this award is under the Salam Foundation. The last award under the Community Builder Award goes to Ahmad Parak, who is no stranger to many of us and has been actively, Councillor Ahmad Parak, who has been actively involved in the community over many years, well known for his selfless efforts with the burial services, especially over the past 2 years during the pandemic. Jazakallah khair, Uncle Aslam, Uncle Dawood. Uncle Razak, can I please call you on? You know, there is a beautiful hadith of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to introduce Uncle Razak to do the vote of thanks. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, "Man lam yashkuri nas, lam yashkurillah." That human being that does not have the ability to show gratitude to human beings will not have the ability to show gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we call upon Uncle Razak to do the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Program Director. Program Director, to save 15 minutes of my 40-minute allocated time, I think we will skip the protocol list and I'll just say all protocol observed. Is that fine? Well, I think we had, I think you'll agree with me that we had a great awards evening thus far. All the awardees, thank you very much. We had great speeches by our guest of honor, our president, Mr. Salih Suleiman, and our MC himself gave an excellent discourse on the Islamic values of business. As I said, we have great nominees, we had great awardees, we had heard of great skills and talents that came up. It's still in your brochure that you could read over the weekend. We had great dinner and we have great Minara Chamber of Commerce. Ladies and gentlemen, according to my notes, at this point we need to applause. Thank you. First and foremost, I must thank the Almighty Allah for showering His grace upon us and ensuring that we have a perfect evening, only to gain His pleasure. The guest of honor, Mr. Zunaid Bulbulya, thank you, sir, for your most eloquent and very informative address. We were most inspired by some of the valuable suggestions you had made on the screens and the impact it has on the global economy. We thank you for your kind and generous words of praises to our nominees. And we value the time you and your good wife have spent with us this evening. And most of all, we value your esteemed presence. Thank you, sir. Our main sponsors, Standard Bank, by by Imran Nurbai and our MC, Mr. Amin. Thank you for your generous contribution, which Standard Bank has always given us in the past. And today's sponsorship was most welcome, as you know that COVID had dried up our coffers. We pray that Islamic Bank continue to keep Minara in their minds for future years. The Capital Group has been a great sponsor. I want to spend a minute here. I called Mr. I call him, Mr. Ikhlas, about 3 weeks ago, not realizing that he was overseas. And when I dialed, I realized it was a tone that was an overseas tone, and I almost clicked off. But he took the call immediately, and he said to me, "What's the problem?" I was wondering whether he knew what I was going to ask him. So I said to him, "I need X money." He says, "Okay, no problem, and what else?" He kind of got scared and clicked off. I said, "Thank you very much," because that was it. A man with not a lion heart, but an elephant heart. Thank you so much. The AMCA group of companies, the Gala brothers, are very dear to us and they're friends to Minara. They have noticed the good work that Minara has done over the years and therefore reach out unhesitatingly to every call every year. Our nominees and awardees, we thank you and congratulate you for your humble and modest acceptance of these awards. You are truly an inspiration to all the people of South Africa. You had your dreams and you lived your dreams until its fruition. A famous author, Og Mondino, I read his book some time ago, Greatest Salesman in the World. He sold 50 million copies, and his famous lines were, what the mind of man can conceive and believe, it will achieve. And true to that, your efforts and accomplishments bear testament to that statement. All media partners, Hilal TV, Salam Media, Channel Islam, Radio Islam, we thank you for facilitating the live coverage, which is beaming right now for a few hours. Thank you for the great work you do and the long hours you spent with us and the various interviews you've done in the build-up to this magnificent function. May your stations grow from strength to strength and in leaps and bounds. Our panel of judges, Professor Shaida Qasim, Dr. Padalka, Ibrahim Vada, the directors of Minara Chamber, do not take part in any of the judging process itself, as you have noticed. We thank the panel of judges for doing long hours and extremely difficult decision making. Lift Airlines, always lifting people, and today you have lifted their spirits as well. Thank you for your kind sponsorship of airline tickets for our winners. Arctic, thank you for quenching our thirst this evening. This evening's planning and organizing a function of this sort takes many months and painstaking. There's just one lady who's involved day and night, and I remember calling her at like about 11 in the night, and I thought that she's sleeping because that what message was for her for the morning, but she took my call, or rather my message, and immediately responded. Amina, thank you very much. Your respect. Last but not least, our very special guest, that's you. Thank you for attending. On behalf of Minara, we sincerely hope that you enjoyed being here as much as we have enjoyed having you here. We pray that as you leave here this evening, that the Almighty delivers you to your good home and family safely. I thank you.
Jazakallah khair, Uncle Razak, for concluding with the vote of thanks. There's two more items on the agenda before we wrap up. we have the lucky draw, and the four prizes on the lucky draw is we have 3 copper chimney vouchers, and we have 1 original artwork valued at 750 Rand. And we'll start with Uncle Solly. You can choose the first one. Muhammad Ismail, Business Development Manager of Tabloid Newspapers. A voucher courtesy of Copper Chimney. Not sure where Muhammad is. Not here. Okay, we'll leave it here. If he's not here, we'll just carry on. Muhammad, your voucher is on the table, Uncle Razak. M. Patel, Gem Schoolway. Voucher from Copper Chimney. All right. I'm going to battle with the surname here. My eyesight. Cass. Okay. The company is NBF. So I can't read the surname. So please forgive me. Both gone. Okay. So we have to redraw. Muhammad and Cass is here. Okay, Cass is here. Cass, voucher from Copper Chimney. We have to redraw Muhammad's one. Abida, you got a present back. We gave you supper before you fly back on lift. Okay, and the last one. Maaf. Yes. Is it? Last one, the artwork. Faraz Muhammad. A beautiful verse of the Holy Quran. وَمَن يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا. In Surah Talaq. And whoever fears Allah and keeps his duty to Him, Allah will make a way out for him. The certificate is at the back. Jazakallah. Jazakallah khair. May I please ask everybody to join me in the final dua, and then after the dua, if we can please ask all of our finalists to come on stage for the final picture, inshallah. Al-Fatiha. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا رب بالمصطفى بلغ مقاصدنا واغفر لنا ما مضى يا واسع الكرم. هو الحبيب الذي ترجى شفاعته لكل هول من الأهوال مقتحم. مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. اللهم افتح لنا بالخير واختم لنا بالخير واجعل عواقب أمورنا بالخير. بيدك الخير إنك على كل شيء قدير. اللهم ثبتنا على الإيمان وأمتنا على الإيمان واحشرنا يوم القيامة مع الإيمان بحرمة القرآن وبحرمة النبي آخر الزمان وبحرمة إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما تحب وترضى بأن تصلي عليه. اللهم ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم، وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. بفضل سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون، وسلام على المرسلين، والحمد لله رب العالمين. Jazakallah khair. Please enjoy some tea and desserts with us and the rest of the networking of the evening. Please drive safe, the roads are wet. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.